are now listening to an inspirational message from the Greater Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, where Dr. Michael Wesley Sr. is pastor. Please join the service in progress.
When the juice got poured on you, and you were the object of the anger that came in the aftermath of, that's not a pretty picture. And it has an impact upon you. So if you want to make your courtship count, look at now, honestly, and be willing to discuss some of that thing. Let me tell you why. Because when you do, you prove to each other that there are no secrets back there that we can't discuss. And already then, you start on a journey of oneness ever before you get to the first step of the altar. You're a long way down the idea of becoming one when you can understand where we've come from. Are y'all hearing me? See, far too many people, when they think of this idea of oneness or intimacy or closeness, their mind immediately leapfrogs to sexual oneness. But there's a whole lot more to oneness than it is physical oneness. And so now let me drop something else in your spirit. That if you're gonna make your courtship count, not only must you look at the family background, but then I want to bring something that you probably hadn't thought about. You got to look at the temperamental differences between yourself and the person that you're linking up with. Somebody said, well, what's temperament? Temperament has to do with personality. And I want you to understand that there are no right or wrong temperaments. We are all born with our temperaments. Just like people are born right-handed or left-handed, or some people are born with black hair, and some people are born with brown hair, some people are born with blue eyes and green eyes, and brown eyes and all those kinds of things like that. There's no right or wrong in that. That's just how they were born. And what you got to understand is that you've heard the snowflake phenomenon, that there are no two snowflakes alike. Then it just simply means that we all are a little flaky. The deal is we're just flaky in different ways. Can I talk? There are some of us who are in this auditorium today whose temperament is that of highly structured. I mean, we just love things to just be in order. I mean, we're going to plan it. We're going to schedule it. We're going to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed. And we live with the motto, no surprises, because we like to plan every process. But then there are some of us who are in this auditorium who are unstructured in our temperament. And we enjoy the ride. We like making it up as we go. We don't like menus. We don't like road maps. We don't like anything that suggests that we have to be confined. Our theme in life is we want adventure, and we don't want no one to take the mystery out of life. Now listen, my sisters and brothers, there is no moral issue here. There is no rightness or wrongness about which temperament is right. It does not mean that a structured person is more Christian than an unstructured person. But the problem in marriage is that we try to normalize our partner. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you as structured as I am? And can you see the level of havoc that can be wreaked upon a relationship when you put a totally unstructured person with a highly structured person? Let me come at it another way. There are some flakes that are highly relational. We love people. We love to be around people. We just enjoy folk, family, and friends, and parties, and good times, and just highly relational. And then there are some of us who are less relational than others in this auditorium. And the highly relational people, they enjoy holidays and things, you know. I can tell it in my family because, you know, we'd have Thanksgiving at my house and it'd be 40, 50, 60 people there. And the highly relational people in the family, they hate for Thanksgiving evening to come. And they be sitting there planning where we gonna go from here. Now they've been bombarded with folk all day long, and they want to get with some more folk and hook up after the thing. And there are some of us who are less relational. We've had enough. We're ready to call the police. There are some highly relational people who just enjoy it. Listen, we got 2 children. We got 2 sons. I got to be honest with you. Like I said, I believe in being fair. We got 2 sons, and they're on opposite ends of this spectrum. Mike Jr. is highly relational and totally unstructured. I mean, he's highly relational. Mike is just a party waiting on the gas. And James, on the other hand, he's a little less relational. He's relational, but he's a little less relational and extremely structured. James gonna calculate and figure out everything he's trying to do before he's doing it. Man, I remember when James was a little man, you know, when we were little, you know, they came to the church, when we came to the church when they were 2 and 4, and as they were coming along, James had his first little crush on one of the older ladies in the church who was one of the singers. You know, see, Vanita's older than me, so like father, like son. Sorry. I just thought I'd lay that down. And so he told me one day, he said, Daddy, he said, we riding together in the car, and he told me about it, you know, and he caught me off guard because I wasn't prepared for this. You know, he said, Daddy, he said, I think Miss So-and-so, won't call him by name, is pretty. And I'm realizing that he got a little liking. I said, well, I agree. I agree. And he said, but I bet she keeps all of her stuff nice and neat in order in her house. that just wouldn't have been on my list. But it just goes to show that there are some people who are structured, and there are some people who are unstructured. There are some people who are highly relational. There are some people who are less relational. And there is no right or wrong issue here. It is not a moral matter. It is a temperamental choice that has been given to us through our birth inheritance. But you need to check it out before you get hooked up, because you can set yourself up for a difficult relationship. If you are a highly relational person, and for example, and you plan, baby, this weekend we're going to have all of the neighbors over. And he is totally unrelated. He said, no, I had already planned that we would just sit here together. So you got to know. I see some of y'all elbowing and say, I wish I had known this 10 years ago. But if you're going to make your courtship count, not only must you look at the family background and understand all of that, and not only must you understand, listen, temperamental differences. And in understanding temperamental differences, don't get so hung up on trying to fix the other person and making the other person like you. It's not going to work, and it's going to set you up for difficulty and challenge. What you got to learn to do is to understand the temperamental difference. And it's best if you understand that before you get airborne. That's a third issue I want to bring, and I want to get you out. I'm already past what I'd hope. I'd be trying to keep this thing right, but there's a third issue that you got to consider before you get airborne if you're going to make your courtship count. And that is, you got to look at and discover the conflict resolution patterns of your partner. You got to know the conflict resolution pattern. How does this person go about resolving conflict? Because let me be clear. Let me be clear. You're going to have conflict. Women are from Venus. Men are from Mars. You're going to have conflict. You come from different places and you see the world through different lenses. You're going to have conflict. And may I tell you that your conflict is largely going to be on one or all three of the big three. You're going to have conflict over money. You're going to have conflict over sex. And you're going to have conflict over power. Who's in charge? Now, you can pretend if you want. You're going to have conflict over money. Here you are, a structured person, married to an unstructured person who want to take the money and throw it away. And you want to organize and pay bills. Tell me you're not going to have conflict. You're going to have conflict. You're going to have conflict with sex in the pre-marriage days. Because if that physical attraction feature is there, and you better make sure it is, listen, you're going to want to take the plane up for a test ride. Now I know. Now please don't misunderstand. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not being ugly. God's word is true. God has some high standards here. But if the temptation, if the truth, if the man has been physically attracted to the woman and the woman has been physically attracted to the man in courtship, those sparks are going to fly. And you're going to have difficulty trying to control yourself and refrain from entering into encounters of a third kind. And not only that, let me carry you further, because some of you think I don't know what I'm talking about. But let me just tell you the truth. The truth is, even on the other side of the marriage altar, you will have some sexual challenges. And it will create some conflict. He may be more relational or less relational than you. One or the other may be feeling their oats more than another. And people come up with this idea, well, I got a headache. And then they open the drawer mat and say, here's Advil, buffering, a leaf. All I'm saying, and I'm not beating a drum here, all I'm saying is conflict will come. It will come over finances. It will come over sex, and it will come over power. It will come over who's in charge of this relationship. It's going to come over who wears the skirt in this relationship. I mean pants. Whatever it may be. But it's going to come down at some point about who's boss in this house. And who are we going to follow? And who's going to be the dominant figure, and who gets to call the shots. The conflict is going to come over, are we really meaning that we are going to submit mutually one to another? The conflict is going to come when a person decides, how in the world can I support this decision that I don't think is in our best interest? The conflict is going to come. And so the question is not whether or not the conflict comes. The question is, how do you deal with the conflict? So some of you deal with conflict in what I call the Eskimo style. The Eskimo style is when conflict arises. You look at each other and you freeze each other out. And you say nothing. And you go on as if nothing has happened. Cold until you forget about what the conflict was about and you thaw out and you get back together. But let me warn you, the problem has not been dealt with. It still remains. Some of you, us, deal with conflict in what I call the cowboy style. We break in, it's going to be a shootout. I mean, we ain't going to stop till somebody is bleeding. We're going to come out with it. We're going to say it. And we're going to say it as uglily as we can, with every intent of hurting, until somebody is left blooded and gunned down. Now, I could, if I had more time, give you some of the other conflict challenges that we have and ways in which people inappropriately do it, but because my time is up, let me move you quickly on to what you ought to do. Rather than going Eskimo style, because that's not going to solve it. Being a cowboy is not going to solve it. All you're going to do is end up leaving the person dead or blooded and resentful. And what that does in both of those styles is the relationship slowly deteriorates until gradually it dies. So what then can we do to make our courtship count? One, there are 4 things I want to drop in your spirit. First and foremost, we got to be willing. Here it is. Number 1, you got to be willing to bring all of the issues to the table. Now, I know sometimes that's difficult, but you got to be willing to put the issues on the table. They cannot be resolved if they're not there presented. But secondly, and I'm moving quickly because our time is up, because even in that first one, the book of Ephesians said, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. So don't be trying to go to sleep, all bent up and bent out of shape and angry. I remember a boy that lived over in Titusville, man, George Morgan, man. He and his brother had a bad argument one night. And the next morning, George had a seizure, and George died. And his brother Bo Peep, man, had a real problem, man. It was difficult, man. I know another situation of a funeral that I did here at this church, man. It was in the old church. The 2 brothers, man, got in an argument one night. They ended up slamming the phone down in each other's face, cursing each other out. And one brother was a truck driver. He went out, was killed in a car accident. And when they brought the boy's body home, the brother that had the conflict, they had to literally pry him away from the casket. Man, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Put the stuff on the table. Secondly, God has given us, listen to me, when you come to the issue of conflict resolution, you got to come with here it is, reconciling spirit. Because God has given us the spirit of reconciliation. And when we approach conflict, we ought to approach conflict with a desire to reconcile what the problem is. And if we're going to reconcile the problem, here it is, number 3, you got to speak the truth in love. You got to speak the truth in love. There's no need in trying to butcher people up. There's no need of that. These are folk you love. These are people that you have decided that you're going to be with. Whether you like them or not, you decided it. And the only reason you don't like them because the intensity has lessened because you've been unwilling and unable to deal effectively with the conflict. Do you know that the conflict is the problem? It's not the person, it's the conflict. And when you learn to put the emphasis on the problem rather than each other, you can get it done. All right. But whenever you use first person or second person, you mess up. When you tell another person, you're accusing that person. You're saying, you did it. The person going to draw up. Wait, hold up. Get off me. I didn't do nothing. The way you do that, if you really want to resolve it, you make it first person. You put the problem on yourself. You say, baby, I have a problem. Okay, baby, what's your problem? You open the door like that so that we can then focus our attention on the problem, not on each other. So you gotta be willing to speak the truth in love. You can't when you speak to another person, you can't be coming at a person with the intent of judging them. You can't be coming at a person with the intent of accusing them. You can't be coming at a person with the intent of belittling them. You gotta be willing to be looking at resolution. And then lastly, I want to say to you today that if you really want biblical conflict resolution, if you can't get the problem solved alone, in Matthew 18:15 gives us some help, then you need to bring somebody else into this. And let me suggest a cute way that can happen. Sometimes you got other couples that you trust and that you relate appropriately to, that seem to have it together, sometimes just going out together as a couple and saying, hey, look, how did you handle such and such? Without throwing the person under the bus. How did you deal with this when you ran into the brick wall? How did you have these scheduling conflicts or these child-rearing headaches? And you can be surprised at the kind of wisdom that can come from the advisement of others. I'm not saying you need to open up and tell everybody your business. Don't do that. Because if you do that, that's going to create a problem for you. When guys talk too much about their circumstance at the house,
as Greater Shiloh Baptist Church evolves into its next journey of the expansion project, Our goal and vision is to bridge the gap between where we are now and where we are going. But together, as we join forces, not to build brick or mortar, but families and dreams, we will see God's vision fulfilled. As you have noticed, classroom space is limited and filled to capacity in our VBS summer programs, which we have seen a spectacular growth. We will create additional classroom space that will allow more kids and students to receive the incredible teachings and fun activities like arts and crafts and great sing-along songs. Many are coming from near and far. Our cafeteria staff and teachers are ready for the call, but there is much more work to be done.
Hello, I'm Dr. Michael Wesley, Senior Pastor of Greater Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. This is the day that the Lord hath made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Friends, we are under construction here at Greater Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. God is blessing us to expand our reach. We've been forced to expand our sanctuary, but for 124 years now, Greater Shiloh has been a consistent witness in the Birmingham community, sharing the life-changing power of the gospel of Jesus. Then it was changing the lives of former slaves into Christians. Now it is bringing people out of prison and putting them into mission. It is also taking athletes and turning them into preachers, and taking youth gangs off of the streets and putting them into college. We're taking corporate leaders and developing them into humble servants of Jesus Christ. We need your help. We need your help in this expansion campaign as we continue to reach our Jerusalem by feeding the homeless, clothing the naked, visiting the widows and orphans. We need your help during this 30-day, $35 campaign. We're requesting a one-time donation. You may give the gift of $35 that we suggest, or you may give any gift that God may lay on your heart to give. But we trust that you will go to your phone or go to your computer or whatever way you choose to do it, follow the prompts as they may be, and give according as God has blessed you. We are so delighted to continue to share the gift of love as we continue to give the saving message of Jesus Christ. Lord, I lift your name on
high. Hope you enjoyed the broadcast. You have been listening to a message from the Greater Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, where we are reaching the world for Christ, located at 2135 Jefferson Avenue Southwest, Birmingham, Alabama 35211. For a copy of a CD or DVD, you can reach us at 205-925-5972 or visit us on the web at www.greatershallow.org. For an uplifting message, please join us for the next broadcast.